Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Do we have something on the screen? Today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 7th chapter, Further Inquiries by Vidura, text number 13. To this side. Yada Indriya Uparamaha Ata Dastrastri Atmani Pare Harau Viliyante Tada Kleshaha Sangsuptasya Iva Kritsnashaha Yadendriyo Paramota Drastratmani Pareharao Viliyante Tada Klesha Sangshuptasyeva Kritsnashaha. Can we get the light back that we just had before? Getting less and less light here. Somebody can chant? It's not on there? Okay. Yada, when, Indriya, senses, Uparamaha, satiated, Ata, thus, Drastri Atmani, unto the seer, the supersoul, Pare, in the transcendence, Harau, into the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Viliyante, become merged in, Tada, at that time, Kleshaha, miseries, Sangsuptasya, one who has enjoyed sound sleep, Iva, like, Kritsnashaha, completely. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. When the senses are satisfied in the seer supersoul, the personality of Godhead, and merge in him, all miseries are completely vanquished, as after a sound sleep. Purport. The quivering of the living entity, as described above, is due to the senses, since the entire material existence is meant for sense gratification. The senses are the medium of material activities, and they cause the quivering of the steady soul. Therefore, these senses are to be detached from all such material activities. According to the impersonalists, the senses are stopped from work by merging the soul in the supersoul Brahman. The devotees, however, do not stop the material senses from acting, but they engage their transcendental senses in the service of the transcendence, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In either case, the activities of the senses in the material field are to be stopped by cultivation of knowledge, and, if possible, they can be engaged in the service of the Lord. The senses are transcendental in nature, but their activities become polluted when contaminated by matter. We have to treat the senses to cure them of the material disease, not stop them from acting, as suggested by the impersonalist. In Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, text 59, it is said that one ceases all material activities only when satisfied by contact with a better engagement. Consciousness is active by nature and cannot be stopped from working. Artificially stopping a mischievous child is not the real remedy. The child must be given some better engagement so that he will automatically stop causing mischief. In the same way, the mischievous activity of the senses can be stopped only by better engagement in relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When the senses are engaged in seeing the beautiful form of the Lord, the tongue engaged in tasting prasad or remnants of foodstuff offered to the Lord, the ears are engaged in hearing His glories, the hands engaged in cleaning the temple of the Lord, the legs engaged in visiting His temples, or when all the senses are engaged in transcendental variegatedness, then only can the transcendental senses become satiated and eternally free from material engagement. The Lord, as the Supersoul residing in everyone's heart, and as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the transcendental world, far beyond the material creation, is the seer of all our activities. Our activities must be so transcendentally saturated that the Lord will be kind enough to look upon us favorably and engage us in His transcendental service. Then only can the senses be satisfied completely and be no longer troubled by material attraction. Yadendriyo paramota drashtvat mani pareharo vilyante tada klesha sanshuptasyeva krichnashaha. When the senses are satisfied in the seer Supersoul, the Personality of Godhead, and merge in Him, all miseries are completely vanquished as after a sound sleep. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kedamhayam Dadhati Swapadantikam Jayasi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripadamaham vande Sri Gurudinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. The blessings of all the Vaishnavas. So Vidura here is taking the position of the disciple. He's none other than Yamaraj, yet he is taking the role of a student and inquiring from Maitreya about transcendental knowledge. He's asking on our behalf, how can the living entity become free from the distractions that are all pervasive in this world? Have you ever felt distracted? Yesterday in Venice Beach, there was a lot of random moving objects, some of them quite spectacular, some of them quite attractive, some of them maybe quite repulsive. Yet the devotees were fixed in chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. My sincere obeisances to whoever made those headdresses of Jagannath. Did you notice the headdresses on Jagannath that were there? Like in Puri? These big flower arrangements. It was very spectacular. Quite a sight. And the senses were so attracted that any person who stepped into that vortex, into that environment, got mesmerized. People were just on a different plane. It was interesting to know, because we were at the book table, just where people come walking in, and they get the first impression of what's going on. And I had a couple He was a basketball player, big guy, and his girlfriend. And he looked over to the deities and he said, what they're doing there, putting that thing on their head, is that like a blessing or something? And I said, you figured it out, man. You figured it out. That's what's going on here. And he happily took books because he understood what was going on just by observing, simply by observing. We all have senses, and here Srila Prabhupada is explaining to us that our senses originally are transcendental. They're actually spiritual, because everything that we receive from the Lord is not material. Krishna is giving the living entity the ability to live in this world, to enjoy in this world, and to use whatever faculties they have received either for their sense gratification or for the service of the Lord. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the mentioned verse in the purport 259, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina raso varjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Krishna states that you can actually purify those senses by engaging them in the service of the master of the senses. And in this way, you become free from your sensory desires, your sensory longings. In the last few verses, the key word that stood out is right in the beginning of the purport. It is quivering. Quivering. Quivering means when you become shaky. You become influenced by some external element. And your faculties become compromised. You start shaking, you may lose your clear chain of thought. Your emotions take the better of you, get the better of you. So the yogis, the jnanis, the impersonalists, they try to control this through austerity. By gyan, by understanding philosophically, okay, I'm not this, I'm not that, so I try to detach myself from that. Through pranayama, yogic practice, yet we can see that their activities are not really successful. So many stories of different yogis who fell down in different points of their practice. Yet we can see how Maharaj Ambarish, who engaged all his senses in the service of the Lord, he engaged in cleansing the temple of the Lord, in serving the deity. All his different faculties he engaged in Krishna's service. And therefore, he was able to conquer Durvasa Muni, who was the greatest yogi. He was so powerful that he could travel in outer space. He could go to Vaikuntha. Anyone here has ever made that? I don't think so. We're happy if we don't hit LA rush hour traffic, right? We're happy if we make it from A to B. But he went up to Vaikuntha, but Vishnu told him, I can't help you. You got to go back and get this problem solved with Maharaj Ambarish. And Maharaj Ambarish was so kind, he was so magnanimous that he not only forgave him, but he felt truly sorry to have inconvenienced this personality. That is the greatness of a Vaishnava. This is called radical personalism, which is quite the opposite of what we experience nowadays in our digitally distracted world through social media, where although people are sending little fragments and little signs, like sign language, yet they fail to really have a satisfying connection, a satisfying interaction. A few weeks ago, Gopal Champu and myself, we were in Cornell, one of the Ivy League schools here in the great country, where students pay about $100,000 a year for undergrad. and then some later on. And when we went there for the first day, it was raining, and we thought it's not such a great thing because when it rains, people get a little disturbed. And I was just taking shelter at the student union, and I went into the entrance, and because it was raining outside, so it turned into like a bus stop, you know? Like when it rains heavily, people just try to take shelter wherever there is some shelter. So there was just like a whole bunch of people there. And I just started talking to them and distributing books to them. And the atmosphere completely changed, it completely transformed. And a lot of people took books. In fact, one student, he said, "You have to wait here, I have to bring my friend. Don't go away." And he went to their dorm, and he got a friend, and he said, "You have to meet this guy." And he wanted him to have the same experience that he had when he talked with me. And he just stood next to me to make sure that the guy got the same kind of experience, that he got the same kind of interaction. Yeah? And at the end, he told his friend, "I told you, it was worth it," you know? Like he made sure the guy brought his money and he gave, and he, you know, so he got the same type of experience. The next day, the sun was out, everything was beautiful, and people were again riding around on their big bicycles, you know, like in Stanford, when they ride those big bicycles, like on Venice Beach sometimes, you know. And it becomes a little harder to interact with people. But I had two young boys, and they both took books, and after 10 minutes, one of them came running back, and he said, "Are you the same guy? I got one of those books in Santa Cruz, California. Did you give me that book, that Science of Self-Realization?" I said, "Dude, I don't really remember, but I'm glad you realize that it's the same experience. It's the same thing." One time I was distributing books in an airport in America, and one man, he held the book, and he looked at me, and he was interested, but somehow it didn't click. You know, like sometimes people are a little distant. It just doesn't click, but still they're friendly. They're not like hostile, but it just doesn't really connect. And I continued talking, but it didn't click, and he did not really actively engage. He was just aloof, kind of reserved. So I just kept pursuing and kept explaining, and at one point he said, "Deep fried donut dumplings soaked in strawberry yogurt sauce. Is this the same thing?" I said, "Yeah, it's the same thing." He said, "How much? How much is it?" He had eaten strawberry malpura at a rainbow gathering many moons ago. But that stuck in his mind. His senses latched on to that experience. And he got addicted to that experience. And he was ready to do what it took. He was ready to pay whatever it cost to get that same experience back. So when people see us, when they walk through this door, or they walk through our virtual door, or somehow we connect to them, the only objective that we have is we want to make them addicted to Krishna. I'm up in the Bay Area. I have some friends who work in technology, try to make smaller and faster chips. That's the only thing. And that justifies why they're there making six figures, so that people can play their games and whatever kind of games they're playing. And he said to me, because if you don't hook your prospect in the first 5 seconds, he's gone. You're never going to see him again. You lost him forever. So on that thought, you got 5 seconds to make an impression. In fact, nowadays, sometimes you only have 2, like the attention span of goldfish. It's very, very transient. So, but that does not necessitate that we scream louder, we jump higher, we're more loud, so to speak. But it really requires our focus, our deep absorption, our prayerful mood and attitude, which will create such a vortex, such a pull, that people will become drawn, they will become automatically attracted. Just like, why are we here? We're here because Srila Prabhupada spent a lot of time here, and because devotees have sacrificed, and it is a place of service. It is a place of service, a place of love, a place of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness means a festival every day. Just like when Krishna turned over in his crib, the Brijbasis held a festival. Why did they hold a festival? Because Krishna turned over. Now some of you may shake their head and go like, why would you hold a festival for that? Because everything that's related to Krishna is a celebration, is a festivity. Goloka Vrindavan is all festivals. Every day is festival. It's all about celebrating Krishna's love, Krishna's joy, Krishna's magnanimous interaction with his devotees. When the Kaura boys see Aghasura, they're a little puzzled. They're not sure, is this a demon? Is this a big serpent? Or is this a wonderful opportunity to play? So they choose the latter. They say, we're going for it. We're going for it. We're walking in this, and this is going to be a great adventure. And whatever happens, Krishna has got our back, because we're with Krishna, so nobody can touch us. That is their attitude. So, the devotees who are fully dedicated to Krishna, for them impossible becomes possible. And thus, they do not have material senses. Their senses are totally spiritual, totally transcendental. And whoever comes in touch with them also becomes spiritualized. And their quivering tendency, their shaking tendency becomes reduced, becomes subjugated, to the point of where they actually become calm. Yatredyante katam rishtas trishnayo prashamoyata nirvairam yatra bhuteshu nodvego yatra kaschana. Wherever and whenever devotees get together and hear the Bhagavatam, what happens in that situation? They become free from envy, from material hankerings. They become free from all these unwanted qualities. That's why Srila Prabhupada gave us the Bhagavatam. That's why he instituted Bhagavatam class. I just completed 7 months tour through the great country, visiting most of the major temples. In many places, they don't have Bhagavatam class anymore. They say, oh, everybody just watches online whatever they like. We don't have to have a class. Because, you got everything on your phone. So then why do you need to get out of bed? Why do you need to get out of your room? You can have it all there. Right? No, we need to get together and celebrate Krishna's festivals. And Tushyanti Charamanti Cha. Whenever I come here and whenever I go to Alachua, I feel a little nervous because I have so many seniors, so many mentors, so many of my revered and benevolent elders. And it puts you on the spot, but it's a good thing because you can see not only you become refined by being seen by them, but also it puts you on the spot because you have to be your better self. You have to step up to the plate. And it's good to be chastised. It's good to be criticized. Not that I'm inviting it, but it's a value-added benefit. Like I told them in Alachua, I'm always very happy to come here because here there's so many people who tell me, don't do this, don't do that, don't. Whereas in other places, like in San Francisco, they tell me, I'm too old, And I go like, okay, fine. So it makes you detached from your false sense of self. Yet we see here that Vidura is taking the position of a disciple, even though he's Yamaraj. He's one of the Mahajans, but he's happy to play the role of being Maitreya's student, to show to us that a devotee, a Vaishnav, can act in any capacity for Krishna's pleasure, to serve Krishna. And that is parampara. That is attractive. So we are expecting our juniors to do bigger and better than we ever could. Leadership is what happens when we're not present. Is there continuity? Is there somebody there to carry on? We were very grateful to see how the festival took place after some leap of absence because of various logistical, circumstantial reasons beyond our control. But people were happy to see us. When we were there at the Civic Center, there was an elderly couple standing under the shade of a tree, and I walked up to them and talked to them, and they said, we've been coming here for many, many years. And we are here right from the beginning till all the way at the end. They were not practicing devotees. It's just an elderly couple who lives in that neighborhood who got that taste to see people engage their senses completely in Krishna service. And just observing that was so attractive that they come back every year to get that experience. When the carts took that right turn down to Venice Beach, then there's a couple of streets that we cross where they have to stop the traffic. And I had a friend of mine that I met in Muir Woods many, many years ago. He was there meditating, and we just met him on a retreat and pulled him in, and I walked with him. But there I just couldn't resist. I grabbed one of those bags of books and just did the line of cars because they couldn't go anywhere. They were just trapped there, waiting. And I just told people, please switch off your cell phones and pay attention to the festival. No, I told people, thank you for your patience. And they were like, wow. You know, you're not sure, like it's a traffic jam, there's something going up front there, and then there's this tall guy coming up to you, knocking on your window, like what to expect. I just said, thank you for your patience, and gave them the gift. And everybody was happy, they took. Only very few people said, they pretended they were busy doing something, or they just turned around and tried to escape. But majority, they were open, they were receptive. So, we're here because of the benevolence of the Vaishnavas, because of their sacrifice, because of their kind glance upon us, and because of their good wishes. So, we humbly pray that you may glance on us and bestow your prayers and your good wishes upon us and empower us to do the impossible, to make it possible for Krishna. Because that is parampara, that is what Srila Prabhupada wanted, that is what Srila Prabhupada expected from all of us. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. We got time for a couple of points. Yes.
It used to be really tough to give some books. I felt, like if you give it to 5, one might take. But yesterday I was telling my wife and my son that whoever we give the book, they are taking it. It was very different yesterday. Like the bags were like emptying like so fast, all the books. Maybe I felt maybe a special channel or something is opening up for for people, like they are more receptive. And even I found one person from Europe, was just standing there. I told him, if you want to pull the cart, you can pull it. And he went all the way till Venice. I saw him, like, without leaving the rope. He was there. So yesterday it was really different. I don't know what.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Gopal Champu, and then Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Navina, Prabhu, for your spectacular class. Just wanted to share one experience that I had on book distribution and also ask a question. So we started our journey Matanga Prabhu and myself from New York on Thursday evening, and we sat down. It was 3 rows of seats on the airplane, or sorry, 3 seats in our row. And so there was one gentleman sitting on the left, and he was coming to coming to Los Angeles. So he was interested because we were dressed as devotees. So he asked us if you guys are monks. We had a nice interaction with him. We sat with him for 8 hours, and at the end of it, when we landed in Los Angeles, he said, "So we told him we were having a festival on Sunday. So he said, Sunday's my birthday. Maybe I'll come check it out." So we ended up seeing him in Venice Beach, and he came over to the book table and he said, "I was looking for you guys all day." So he had been in the festival for a few hours already trying to find us. And he finally came, he saw me at the book table, came over, got a Gita. And I thought it was his birthday, so let me try to make something extra special. So I saw Radhanath Maharaj sitting over there, so I sold him a journey home as well. And then he went over to Radhanath Maharaj and wanted to say hello. And he said, even though I'm African American, I've always been attracted to Indian culture. And then Maharaj just looked at him and said, "You're lucky, you've come to the right path, you've made it to the path." So and you saw he was visibly affected by that. And then I looked over to him, and he had gone over to Jagannath's cart and purchased the puja on itself. I didn't tell him anything. He purchased it, took his shoes off, and went and offered the arti to Jagannath. And I have a question in regards to this verse from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Sarvapadi Vinirmuktam Tatparapena Limram Rishikena Rishikesa Sevana Bhakti Uchate. So it states that we get rid of all padis by engaging our senses in Krishna service. But I feel like for myself, I feel like I'm still very much on the bodily platform. So can you shed some light on how this actually happens when we are engaging Krishna service?
Thank you for sharing. Because we have been hanging around in the material world for a long time, our senses are still attracted, and we're still conditioned by the weaknesses, this hridaya daurbalyam, this weakness of the heart. Especially, money and women, or money and men, or whatever it is, you fill in the blanks. And so people start getting the quivering, they start getting the shakes when they come into that environment. Like yesterday I was at the free feast booth, and we were a little delayed because there was not too many people helping setting up. And then I saw one girl, she drove by on a bicycle in her, Venice tight outfit, and the mind starts thinking, nice or not so nice, or this or that. She got off her bike, she took out her purse, she took out $20, she put it in the donation box, she got back on her bike, and she rode off. And I told my mind, you see, you can't judge people. Because you may think something, but that's not really what's going on here. So because we're conditioned by our external view, and Krishna has his way of proving us wrong. Stepped into the questions and answer booth with my friend Jai Chaitanya yesterday. We did a little rap together. It was fun. And the mics didn't work. In fact, a lot of the things didn't work, But we still had fun. When I got back here in the evening, we're tired and hungry and sweaty. You want to go and take your shower, and then the door was locked. The different lock that I didn't have a key to. And I was like, okay, one of those days. All right, what to do? Nothing to do. So I just walked down on the street, and guess what? Lord Jagannath just pulled up. And nobody was there to receive him. So we did kirtan. I mean, it was, for me, not possible to do kirtan during the parade, but here Lord Jagannath comes back, and he says, you want to do kirtan? Okay, come on. So little skimpy me, trying to. So Krishna, he has his plan, he has his timeline. Now, how long it will take us to purify ourselves and to get fully absorbed and fully attracted to Krishna? Once your mind actually can, like Vaisheshika Prabhu said the other day, fully focus on Krishna and hold Krishna's form in his mind, you can hold a festival. You can celebrate that. Yet, even devotees who are on the advanced level, they will continue practicing sadhana to give the example to others. Even though they're already continuously meditating on Krishna, they're still going through the externals of sadhana bhakti to give the example for others. And as long as you have a material body and material senses that you think are material, you will still experience some of those waves. But they're waves, and they come and they go. The crux of the matter is not to latch onto them and not to think that they are the be-all and end-all. And once we offer our heart and our existence completely to Krishna, then whatever little sway may come our way will really not make us stray from the path, because we will be focused on our goal of satisfying Krishna. Yes, Prabhu, you had a point, and then last one in the back.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for such a wonderful class, very inspiring. I heard you saying that we are living in this digitally distracted world, but our goal as a preacher is to get them addicted to transcendental experience. And we have only 5 seconds, and then you corrected it, even 2 seconds to get their attention. So my first question is, how do we, in the 2 seconds, get their attention so that we can hold it and go to the next step? And the second question is, we are in an age right now where the information explosion, and our competition is Google.
I could not understand.
Our competition, especially we are dealing with educated people, our competition is Google Guru. As soon as we say Hare Krishna, all they have to do is enter Hare Krishna, and along with Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna movement, Hare Krishna temple, they find so many things that happened last 50 years which are not so transcendental. Okay. So how do you deal with that, Prabhuji?
Sure. So first question, you get up early and you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So then any person who meets you, they have only one question in mind. How can I become like you? Not how can I get as far away as possible from you, but how can I become like you? We had 2 gentlemen, they were coming with some very high-tech equipment. They're making, for these Oculus, for this type of, the next level of madness. Those things. They were making movies for that with their very fancy equipment. And they heard us rap in the booth about the, attention span of goldfish and all these kind of things. And so they said, I need to get you on camera. I need to. And so, yeah, when you go on the web, you find a few different things when you put in Hare Krishna, but that's the web, That's why we're not educated in the University of YouTube. That's why we're not telling people to tune into mundane media. And no matter what, how much other type of information you put out there will still be other people who will disagree. How many people recognize that Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead? How many? 200. A small handful. Only the devotees, yes. A small handful. Even amongst his own tribe, even amongst his own people. It's the way of the world. Get used to it. If you want to make a difference, change always happens on the periphery. It always happens by renegades, by people who have very different ideas, by revolutionaries. Are you ready to be a revolutionary for Prabhupada? But if you want to go and live compliant, easy, accepted life, don't be a Hare Krishna. But you will notice that you'll never fit in, no matter where you are. Because some people will always think that you're strange. You don't belong here. You're just weird. Huh? And what's weird in one place is completely okay somewhere else. So that's why devotees, they do not try to please the crowd. Because the mass is an ass. You can't please them. But they want to please Krishna. Because they know, if you water the root of the tree, everybody becomes satisfied eventually, one way or the other. So we focus on that, rather than try to please the crowd. That doesn't mean that we try to repulse them, or we try to upset them or offend them. By no means. We try to attract them to Krishna. We try to make sure they have a good impression of us. But it doesn't mean that we change our philosophy, our ideology, just to suit our crowd. And when we're in this place, we talk like this, and when we're in that place, we talk like that, and when we're here, we try to conform to their kind of normalcy. So just please Krishna. And then people will become attracted because they will see that you got something that's very unique, that nobody else has. You have integrity. You have sincerity. You have substance. You have gravitas, gravity. And that's attractive. Last point in the back.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. That was a wonderful class. I forgot my question, but I would just like to say that you really speak from your own example. In 2018, I was passing through Palo Alto on the way to Oregon, and I had the blessing of seeing you at the temple there. And I will never forget how you made me feel. I was floating as I was going to my car, and it was a privilege to be seen by you. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all for your patience. And I hope you will get Sangshuptasya, one who has enjoyed sound sleep. I hope you will get some compensation for the for the lost sleep in the last few days. I know many of you have journeyed from far to come here and to participate in this festival. But for devotees, they go all out. For Krishna's pleasure, to make Krishna happy, there is no expense, there is no sacrifice, there is no obstacle too big to hold a festival for Krishna. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.